Prof, anong pansin po ninyo na sa Davao, nandun, nag-focus sa mga Duterte. Pero
Mhm.
alam mo, marami kasing parang nasasayangan sa pagkakataon na sa may
Mhm.
Duterte na tumakbo sa pagkasenador sa
Yes.
2025, considering na mataas sa survey si former President Digong at ang
Mhm.
kanyang anak na si Mayor Baste. Anong masasabi mo
Yes.
doon?
Well, sa akin, dito nga, nasabi ko na rin sa ibang interviews, President Duterte really needs to guard Davao. No? If we consider Davao as the kingdom of the Dutertes, and it's currently under attack. No? So the only, I think, best person to defend that kingdom is none other than the king himself or the patriarch of the Duterte family, because they really need to maintain Davao, because Davao is the bastion of strength of the Dutertes. If the opposition will take hold of Davao, it will amplify the idea of a Duterte weakness, which may translate in a perception on a national level that the Dutertes are already a weak force in Philippine politics na ayaw nilang mangyari, because the 2025 elections will always have a bearing to the 2028 elections. Kapag natalo ang mga Dutertes dito sa Davao, maaari itong magkaroon ng malaking epekto doon sa 2028 presidential aspirations ni Inday Sara, ni VP Inday, no? So they I think are doing the logical thing of safeguarding Davao so that it will be maintained as a stronghold of the Dutertes, and it will give the impression on a national scale that Davao is still very much a Duterte country at hindi ito maagaw ng kahit na sino. And so, mananatili rin yung kapangyarihan at yung popularidad at yung integridad ng mga Dutertes na maaari nilang dalhin sa 2028 elections. No? Although on the flip side, medyo nakakapanghinayang, no, na hindi siya humabol sa Senado. I think the brilliance of President Duterte could really be of big use in legislation, especially now na medyo kailangan natin ng mas maayos na batas. No? Pero I think mas wise na move na pangalagaan talaga nila yung Davao.
Prof, gano'n po ka-crucial ang 2025 midterm elections para po sa 2028 political cycle sa Pilipinas at para, magkaroon ng matinding o malakas na oposisyon sa Senado para sa mga issue na may kaugnayan po sa charter change at iba pa pong mga nakikitang plano, no, ng administrasyon na naunang sinabi ni former President Duterte at ngayon sinabi rin ni Vice President Sara Duterte na ang misyon ay manatili ang mga nakaupo sa kapangyarihan ng matagal.
Yeah. Well, basically, yung sabi ko nga, testament vote ang midterm elections. Dito natin makikita kung meron ba talagang kakayahan ang liderato o ang kasalukuyang administration to give a perception or impression to the public that they are still formidable and that the president is still popular and that the president is perceived to be a working president. No? Parang parang testament vote ang midterm election. Kaya kung maalala natin ng 2019 elections when President Digong was enjoying a very high net satisfaction and trust rating, lahat ng inendorso niya na kandidato during that time, they all won, right? And in the same manner, makikita natin ngayon kung ito pang mga i-endorso ni President BBM, if they will make it, at least, or majority of them will make it, maaaring pagpapakita ito, no, na nandun pa rin yung tiwala ng taong bayan sa kanya. Or, on the flip side, o pwede rin naman na pagpapakita ito na talagang nandun yung kakayahan nitong mga senador na to individually, no, to launch a massive and convincing national campaign because they have the resources, they have the name, they have the popularity, and they have the machinery in their own accord. Yes, definitely. Actually, very interesting mix ng mga kandidato. Ang medyo pumailan lang ngayon, combination ng mga datihan, mga baguhan, political dynasties, entrenched political families, bloggers, influencers, no? I think this is quite interesting, no? Interesting mix of candidates that we have right now for the midterm elections. And yun, medyo para sa akin, medyo kapanapanabik itong magiging outcome itong 2025 elections because so much is at stake. To think there are a lot of controversies that we actually had, no? And this will be good prelude to the 2028 presidential elections as well.
Pero sa napansin niyo po ba sa mga nakalipas na mga halalan, mayroon po bang trend sa pagpili ng ating mga kababayan sa mga gusto nila sa mga naghahain po ng mga kandidatura? Kasi alam natin, ng mga unang panahon, walang masyadong access yung ating mga kababayan, tanging telebisyon, radyo, mga pahayagan, and ngayon meron ng social media po. Meron po ba kayong nakikitang trend na sa pagpili nila, marami na silang mga kinukonsidera o still doon pa rin sa mga kilala, mga personalidad, yung mga lagi na lang na nababasa natin ng mga apelyido ng mga politiko, yun pa rin yung kanilang pinipili?
Well, para po sa akin, may mga may mga nadagdag talaga, definitely. And what we're seeing right now is the influx again of political dynasties, and not only political dynasties that are pitted against one another, but these are political dynasties that are wherein we see the members of the same family waging a battle with one another. So medyo interesting yun. Kasi parang dati ang labanan is political dynasty against another political dynasty, but right now it's political dynasty. The members of the political dynasties are going up against each other. So that is something na medyo hindi natin inaasahan pero nangyayari. Pero right now there are a lot of other siguro masasabi natin a lot of other inclusions dito sa ating political fray, primarily because it's conditioned nga, like you mentioned, social media. Marami tayo ngayon, mga influencers, bloggers, dati nangangampanya lang sila, pero ngayon sila mismo ang humahabol. And the political milieu right now is basically entrenched towards digital campaign. Unlike before, talagang ground tayo. Ngayon, nag-venture talaga sa digital campaign. That's the trend right now.